Alright guys, welcome to Everyday Journey. Today we got part 2 of working on my Honda, what is it, HRT 216. So it's push mower, self-propelled. We're going to work on the carburetor today, so that way we can get it all cleaned up and hopefully get it running. Alright guys, since we've pretty much determined that since this thing was running before and everything seemed to check out so far, and you can watch my previous video to see what I've checked, but now we're pretty much determining it's something to do with the carburetor. So I'm going to try my best to take this thing apart as easily as possible and hopefully not damage all the gaskets and things like that, so that hopefully I can just clean it and put it all back together and we won't have to buy anything for it. So we'll see. So welcome to Everyday Journey. First thing we got to do is pop off this air cleaner, air filter, and all these are going to be about, similar. Since this air cleaner cover is actually pretty, it's all pretty flat there, I'm going to use that to hold my nuts and bolts. So it looks like we got 3 bolts here. My guess is 10mm. Let's check it out and see. Alright, 10mm it is. So we'll go ahead and take these off first. Anytime you take something apart like this, either have your little diagram that you're drawing things or whatever, so that you can and place the bolts and stuff right next to it, so you know where everything goes back. Luckily for me, I'm taking video of this, so we can just watch the video if we're worried about where things go. You got the same resources? Hey, whatever works. So what I'm trying to do now is I like to be able to remove it from the carburetor as easily as possible, and I can't really see around it much, so I can't tell for sure if it's caught on gaskets, but you can feel it. This has got a little bit of tension still left on it, even though it's mostly pulled loose. So it feels like it's grabbing onto something. Can't tell what it is yet, but we'll find out shortly. Now I can see it. It's actually this hose right here. So check out the back here. Everything looks okay. It's nice and clean on the part where the gasket was touching. So we'll set that aside. Looks like we really didn't damage the gasket here much. Although anytime you're cleaning this, try to brush all the crud away from it. Keep it out of the carburetor. So here I am. I'm just going to take, this is an old toothbrush, and don't ever throw these things away. If you can't use it anymore to brush your teeth anymore, keep it, because throw it down in the garage, use it for things like this. Works out awesome. So we're just going to go through here and clean all this up real quick before we start really getting into it. Alright, so there's not really a good way to get in there and clean all that out yet. So next thing is taking everything loose from the carburetor. Let's see what we got here. So we'll go ahead and pull this out of here. I'm just prying the front metal plate here out of the way. Let's see. Oh, and we've already messed up one of the gaskets, so we know we've got that going on. This is my fuel line right here. Actually don't have any fuel in here. It's best to drain it completely. But it needs to be removed from the carburetor. It's got a little retaining clip on here. We'll get to it. Of course, it's on the back side. Use what's handy. See what I'm using here? Using the hooks on this little saw blade here. So now I've got it turned to where I can actually squeeze a little bit. And now that we've removed the tension on it, I should be able to pull this hose off. Let's see if we can just get this clamp completely out of the way and then try it again. Alright, so we get that out of the way. Now we can rotate the carburetor completely up and out of here. Now we can remove this. Looks like we've got a little spring attaching to it too. Alright, and now we have this one. There we go. And as you can see, this thing is filthy, for one. But two, this gasket right here is messed up. This one over here is toast. And so I'm going to save the pieces of the gasket, so that whenever I go looking up another one, I can actually find the correct size, shape, and everything. First we've got to peel it off the back side of here. But anytime you're dealing with the gaskets, always try to keep them intact for the most part, so you can try your best to match them up exactly. If need be, we could always get some kind of gasket maker or something like that to put on here. Whatever it is, just got to be rated for this, you know, temperature wise and everything else. Rated for fuel, stuff like that. So, but any of these surfaces that have the gaskets on it, we're going to pull the gasket off. We're going to clean it up real good. Of course, before I even get into any of that, I'm going to clean off the rest of this carburetor because it's, like I said, pretty nasty. And so I'll do that and then get back to you. Alright, so this is clean, about as good as I'm going to get it for now. Next thing I'm going to do is take off this bowl. We've got a, looks like a nut here or bolt here. This would be able to, if you had fuel in here, which in my case I don't, it's been sitting for a very long time, but you'd undo this one to remove the fuel out of it first, drain it, and then we use this one. It's 10 millimeter. I've already loosened it to actually get the bowl off. So it's pretty crusty here and really nasty there, so I'm going to continue to clean this out. Alright, that's cleaned out fairly decent. Before I put it back together, I'm going to take some WD-40 or something and just put a real light coat on there. I'm just going to spray it on a rag and then wipe it on there. This right here, on the other hand, what we need to do, this is the bottom of the carburetor. This is your float and your float valve inside here. We need to remove this pin. We'll remove that pin and we'll pull this float and then the float valve out, and then go ahead and clean this up. Remember, whatever you do with it, do it with very little force, because this is aluminum and aluminum breaks easy. So that looks like it's loose. We just need to pull it the rest of the way out. So there we go. Now the float comes off. Maybe replacing that. Here's your float valve. So now I'm going to sit here and take the toothbrush and clean this out real good. Alright. I've also been using a little brass brush. You don't want to use like a steel brush because this is aluminum. You'd be messing it up. But a brass brush will work. And for all these nooks and crannies in here, I'm actually going to use a screwdriver, tiny screwdriver, and just sit there and kind of scrape it out and see how it goes. Alright, you can't really see very well, but I've gone through and scraped everything out. So my next thing is I'm going to try to get to all the ports. Right here, we've got one in here. This is actually, I need to take a larger screwdriver and try to unscrew that and pull all that out. And then basically I'm going to take like little bits of wire, pipe cleaners, whatever I can basically fit through all these little ports on here, and try my best to clean them out a little bit first. and then I'm going to take some carb cleaner and start spraying and cleaning everything up. And then after that, we're going to try to put it back together, because I've actually looked up the prices for this little piece right here. This tiny little piece right here would cost you roughly, what did it say? I think it was about $17. You know, this float right here, this right here cost, I think it was like $23 or something like that. I mean, it's ridiculous. So basically, I'm going to clean it up and try my best to just reuse it. I think it's just, this got gummed up, probably got some flakes of crap inside it, so, you know, block the ports and things like that. So we're going to try to clean it up real well first, put it back together. I did get some gasket making material. I'll show you that, so we can remake these gaskets. And everything else seems perfectly usable, as long as I can make sure it's all nice and clean. And I think we'll be okay. And who cares? I'm going to put it back together. It doesn't work well, then I can go ahead and spend the money. But the sad thing is, I can buy this whole thing right here with everything included, new bowl, new everything I need, for like $17. So I don't know how they figure it, but that's the way it is. You got to work with what you got, and that's what I've got. So I'm going to go ahead and take that port out of there and clean up everything, and then see whether it works or not. Alright, this is what it looks like. Took it out of the inside of here. Kind of got it chewed up a little bit there where the threads, or where the screwdriver would go in, and that's just because it was in there tight. So before I get done with this, I'm actually going to take a file and try to file that square again in there, so that if I do need to use a screwdriver in it again, hopefully it'll work. But yeah, there's a little hole in there that we got to clean out. Holes in here. The other thing I did here is I counted, you know, I took out the screw here and here. Whenever I take those screws out, I mark them. I put a mark on the top, make a little scratch. Well, here, here, and here. I make a scratch on it, and then make a scratch on this, on the carburetor itself. And then I count the turns as it comes out, so that I can make sure and actually scratch the number in here. This one came 5 turns. That one had 10 turns before it came out. I'll scratch the number on there so I don't forget. And as I put it back together, I could put it in with that exact amount of turns. I think most likely this thing, since it did run before, just needs a good cleaning. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm about to take it and get the carb cleaner after it, scrub it up real good, make sure it's all nice and cleaned out, all the ports and everything. And then I'm going to take and put all that back together, and I think it should work. Like I said, all the adjustment screws and things, those shouldn't be a problem, because they did work before. They were adjusted properly before. So if I put them back in exactly the way they were, it should work again. Granted, I may have to adjust something or whatever, but we'll get to that point when I get to there. So I'm going to go spray this thing out and clean it up good. Alright guys, it's all put back together. All I did was just spray out these little ports everywhere on here. Anywhere there was a hole, I just sprayed it out. Take your can of carb and choke cleaner, and just put your little, let's see, put the little hose into the nozzle, and then whenever you're using it, you know, put it inside all the ports, spray them out, make sure it flows freely. And like I said, take a little wire brush, well, not a wire brush, take a little pipe cleaner, something like that, to make sure you can get the gunk out. Everything seemed to flow all right. Here I made some gaskets for this since I tore up the other ones. You can watch my short little video on how I did that. I wanted to make sure to get something that was going to work. I mean, the gaskets were like, for the price of the material to make the gaskets, I bought a whole roll where I can make 100 or more, easy. And what I'll do is just put it in a Ziploc baggie so I can keep in my garage. Won't have to worry about it getting moisture and something happening to it. And then if I need it again, I can use it. In this case though, we just need to put the gaskets in place and put the carburetor back on. So let's see how it goes. Put both of these in here and then turn it so that both of them are going in at the same time. Easier said than done, I'm sure. Alright. Now, I'm actually going to put my spring back on. I know you guys probably can't see this, but it's just going down through the hole. Alright, so we got our carburetor in here, in place, everything kind of hooked to it. Let's go ahead and put our fuel line on. I found out the hard way that that's got to go on first. So put this retainer clip in place where it needs to be so it holds it on. Alright, found this out too, that the this hose right here attaches to the back of the front cover for this carburetor. We need to put that on first as well. And now we go ahead and put it in place. And we go ahead and start putting nuts in, or bolts in through here. We get them to go through, and it's going to be a matter of just holding these gaskets in place and putting the bolts through them as we go, since I don't know what to use to actually hold them in place. I don't even see that gasket. Where might she be? Oh, dropped it. Alright. Put a bolt through. Put this side in. And actually, I'm going to the side here so we can do it easier. So I can see where the gaskets are in relation to the screw. Alright, so we got that side started. Get our other screw here. Another bolt. Put it through. And it's just a matter of just lining everything up. I mean, get it to go through the carburetor, or get it to go through the gasket, and then get everything else to go through in the back here. I'm sure there's probably an easier way to do this, but I don't know what it is. So, gotta do it the way I know how to do it. Alright, so I'm going to put this gasket in place in the back, get the bolt started through it, and then once it's started through it, then I can put the metal piece This seems like a heat sink in a way between the engine and the carburetor. So now we got that side going. Now we got to tip up the gasket. Put the other screw bolt through. Put the metal through it. And now put everything in place to go into the motor. There we go. So now we got our fuel line this time. I already did it once and got it all together and realized I couldn't get the fuel line in there because this plastic piece is in the way. Like I said, you live and learn. So I'm going to kind of hand tighten these just so that they're good and started. Go ahead and put this on as well. Because now my next thing is actually putting this hose in place back here. Now I gotta finish tightening all these down. Get them the rest of the way hand tight. Now we put our fuel filter, our air cleaner back on. Make sure our fuel's turned on because we're about to fill this sugar up and see what happens. Alright guys, I appreciate you watching. That mower has not run now in a year and a half, 2 years. I didn't really need it. I had another one, actually one that I prefer better. But that's a good mower and I just, I really wanted to get it fixed. So I didn't exactly know what was wrong with it, although I had an idea. As you can see, it smoked a little bit, so I was kind of concerned that maybe the engine was shot, but compression test, that confirmed that that was okay. So it probably needs new rings or something, which I'm never going to do, but it works fine for what it is. But yeah, I definitely appreciate you guys watching. Glad that it actually worked out, because I'd hate to sit there and go through doing a whole video on it or whatever and not even fix it. So, but if you guys have any questions, concerns, or anything like that, definitely shoot me a line. Comment, subscribe, like. I see we're getting more and more subscribers. The new challenge is you guys actually let me know what I should do for the 200 subscribers. Once we get there, I'll choose from the comments somewhere, and somebody will have an idea, and as long as it's safe and everything, I'll take their idea and we'll go ahead and do it. So appreciate you guys watching. You guys take care.